This is Federica. I'm part of the Doc City team, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to this live webinar of the Gabelli School of Business. And it's a pleasure to leave the floor to Lawrence Murray, that is the Senior Assistant Dean of the Graduate Admissions. Please write all of your questions into the Q&A because we will be answering at the end of this presentation. Lawrence, the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Frederica. Thank you, everyone, for joining from all around the world. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. It's my pleasure to speak with you today about the Gabelli School of Business here at Fordham University. And again, my name is Lawrence Murray, and I'm the Dean of Admissions here at the Gabelli School. So I've got a brief presentation to share. We'll get started here. All right. Again, welcome everyone. Today I'm going to share some information about our portfolio of master's programs that we offer here at the Gabelli School of Business. We'll talk a little bit about our full-time MBA program. We'll spend some time talking about our specialized master's programs. Then I'll talk a little bit about what makes the Gabelli and the Fordham University a little bit unique. And then we'll talk about some logistics, application requirements and deadlines, et cetera, et cetera. And again, at any time, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. All right, so I'm going to start with our full-time MBA program. This is probably one of the most noticeable programs at most business schools in the U.S. The full-time MBA typically is their flagship program. That's no different than it is here at the Gabelli School. Our full-time MBA is a program that requires work experience. It's a 2-year program, and most students that are coming into the program have about 5.3 years or so of professional work experience, and they're about 28 years old. This is a daytime program, and it's a full-time program. Most of the students are coming from a wide variety of backgrounds. Students are coming from places like the financial services industry. They're coming from accounting and tax. They're consultants, they're engineers, and then we've got some non-traditional students as well that are admitted into our full-time MBA program. Those are folks that are coming from the nonprofit space, technology and innovation, and then we've got a growing number of students that are coming from the NGO space and the government background. So that's our full-time MBA program in terms of the profile. Want to just quickly go through the full-time MBA curriculum. Again, this is the flagship program. It's a 2-year program. I know that there are now many versions of MBA programs out in the marketplace, but to be clear, ours is a traditional 2-year model. So our full-time MBA program starts in the summer before the school year begins. So our students will begin here July 5th with what we call Gabelli Launch. And Gabelli Launch is really the platform by which the students are preparing themselves for their first year in the full-time MBA program. Over the course of 5 to 6 weeks, including asynchronous, which is online material that can be digested on demand at any time that you want, as well as with synchronous activities. And this year, we will attempt to have in-person activities as well as synchronous online activities for those folks who aren't able to join us. But during Gabelli Launch, the students will go into a deep dive around career development. They will come up with a career development plan, leadership development. They will then link their leadership development plan to a career development plan. There's a strong component of technology and data analytics. And then there's a global applied learning project. Pre-COVID, our students went to South America, into Argentina to be exact, for a consulting project with a few NGOs. This year, we will continue with a virtual engagement. And so those students, it's actually last year was fantastic. We were able to broaden the scope of the type of work that we were doing with that global applied learning project. Once they complete Gabelli Launch, again, which is about 5 to 6 weeks, we give them about a week off. And then they start with their coursework. The fall semester is devoted to the core classes. There are core classes in accounting, management, marketing, finance, statistics, and economics. And then there's a winter break that typically is in January, mid-December to mid-January. And then the spring term, the students take classes in, again, these are their core classes: ethics, business technology and analytics, strategy, and there's another global industry project. Throughout, and then they start an elective in the spring. Throughout their time in their first year, you'll see there in that little box it says enrichment activities. That actually goes through the entire first year, fall semester and spring semester. And these are weekly opportunities for students to engage with faculty on research, to engage with guest speakers, to engage with employers for additional leadership and professional development, and engagement, as well as a whole host of other complementary activities to help enrich the experience during the first year. During the summer, the students, typically a full-time MBA student is getting an internship. The internships, again, it's a wide variety of interests from the students, so it really depends on what your individual career goals and professional aspirations are. But typically that internship is aligned with where you want to work or what you want to do when you finish your MBA. So the goal really is to attain a summer internship that you can convert into a full-time job offer. So you go, you finish your summer internship, you come back, and this is where the customization begins in the full-time MBA program, where you're able to take elective courses, and those elective courses are segmented into specializations. And here are some of these specializations. Our primary concentrations in accounting, communications and media management, finance, fintech, information systems, management, and marketing. The ones with an asterisk or the little star, these are the STEM designated concentrations for the full-time MBA program. So these are the primary concentrations. And then we also have cross-functional concentrations that go across a variety of different areas. So we like to think of the primary concentrations as verticals. So there's an accounting vertical, communications and media management, finance, fintech, information systems management, and marketing. And then horizontals are the cross-functional concentrations: blockchain, corporate compliance, e-business, entrepreneurship, sustainability, healthcare, and international business. And again, those with the asterisks are those that are STEM designated. We are planning to move forward with, let me go back one slide. We are planning over the course of the next year to convert our other concentrations, primary concentrations, into STEM designations. So effectively converting the entire full-time MBA program into a STEM designated full-time MBA program. We hope to get that done for the start of the fall of 2022 year. Our specialized master's programs, these are the majority of the students at the Gabelli School. And as you can see here, we have a number of different specialized master's programs across a number of different verticals or sectors. In the analytics space, we have 3 programs: a Master's of Science in Applied Statistics and Decision Making, a Master's of Science in Business Analytics, a Master's of Science in Marketing Intelligence. In our business technology vertical, we have a Master's of Science in Information Technology. In finance, there are 2 programs: a Master's of Science in Global Finance or Corporate Finance, and a Master's of Science in Quantitative Finance. In our general management area, there are 3 programs: a Master's of Science in Management, a Master's of Science in Media Management, and a Master's of Science in Strategic Marketing Communications. And then finally, in our professional services area, which is accounting and tax, we have 2 programs: a specialized master's program in accounting and a separate specialized master's program in professional taxation. Those programs that are indicated with an asterisk are STEM designated programs. So for an international student, this provides them, similar to the full-time MBA, it provides them with additional work authorization post-graduation or upon graduation. I just want to point out that we also have a few online programs. We have an online program in management, an online program in global finance, and then the strategic marketing communication program is also an online program. And I'd just like to point out the Strategic Marketing Communication program is the one master's program. This and the management program are the programs that are not STEM designated. So now I'm going to jump into career development. Without a doubt, students are choosing to go to business school because they are looking to get a job. And so I just want to point out here some of the aspects of our approach to career management. As you can see here on one part of the screen with all of the logos, this is a sampling of two things. One, it's a sampling of some of the different firms that our own career development staff have worked at. And as you can see, this is a great example or sample of top multinational corporations, but it also represents a sample of the companies that hire our students, both at the internship level as well as the full-time MBA level. So again, as you can see, a wide variety of companies across various sectors and industries. So when we're talking about career development and those types of engagements, we have a full service career development office with a team of about 10 people that are committed to helping all of our students achieve their career goals and professional aspirations. Some of the activities that are sponsored by the Career Development Center, one-on-one career advising, students who are admitted into our program and accept their offer of admission, actually within a few weeks of submitting your enrollment deposit, you are provided an introduction to your career advisor based on the program that you are admitted to. We also have a variety of workshops, specialized workshops and group sessions. This morning for our students, we had one on digital and social media, leveraging digital and social media in the job search. I think most students who come to grad school don't fully understand the opportunity that platforms have like LinkedIn, not just to help enrich your brand, but also to help guide your career search. So we had we had two sessions, actually one for current students, and then we had a session, we're an admitted student week, we had a session for our admitted and deposited students as well. On-campus recruiting, obviously in COVID, that wasn't on campus, that was virtual, but nonetheless, we were able to expand the number of companies that engage with us by going virtual. So we were excited. The results of that was we had an increase in the number of students who received internship offers as well as full-time offers. Across a broader subsection of companies. So we were really excited about the unique opportunity that COVID provided for us to expand our reach. We do interview training. Interviews are a critical component in the job search and internship search process. We spend a lot of time with students helping to hone their interview skills. And we actually leverage some artificial intelligence and machine learning with a couple of different tools that help prepare students for interviews. And then, of course, the students can engage with our career services staff for one-on-one interview counseling and coaching. During the school year, we have a career spotlight series. Typically, that's every Friday. We bring in a representative or two, typically an alum, not always, to talk about their company and sort of what's going on in their company, and for the students to learn a little bit more about the culture of the company and about how they engage, how the company engages with master students or MBA students for internships and full-time jobs. Alumni networking, one of the things about being a relatively small business school is that the alumni to student ratio is really good. And so our students have a very unique opportunity with many of our alums being in the New York tri-state area and being at the heart of New York City. They have an opportunity to engage with alumni on a regular basis. Company site visits, again, in COVID, these were virtual, but similar to on-campus recruiting, COVID provided us with the opportunity to expand our reach. So we were able to double the number of company visits, the virtual company visits that we did last year over the year before, and then corporate information sessions. Again, these are special sessions specifically for a particular company who's interested in presenting to students who might be interested in submitting applications for internships or full-time jobs. All right. The Gabelli Difference. One of our mantras, our sayings here is New York is my campus, Fordham is my school, or Fordham and the Gabelli School is my school. We are literally right in the middle of New York City. For those of you that are not familiar with New York City, it's an island. So we are smack dab in the middle of the island. And I have to say, with no offense to my colleagues at that school, at Columbia University just north of us, or NYU just south of us, I do feel that we have the best location in the city. We're in close proximity to a lot of industry centers. So information and technology, media and entertainment, literally, you can throw a rock at HBO or NBC or Universal. So lots of industry literally in walking distance of the university. And so that provides a high level of access and engagement for the students across our graduate programs, whether you're in the master's programs or you're in the full-time MBA program. So even in light of the global health pandemic, New York City is still the epicenter for private sector jobs in the US. And so just prior to COVID, nearly 4 million private sector jobs. And so that's changed a little bit. But another unique aspect of being here at the Gabelli School is in the heart of New York City is really being at the front seat of the re-engineering of the work world post-COVID. And so you get firsthand view at how industries, a variety of different industries, are refocusing and recentering and realigning who they are and what they do post-COVID. There's nearly 10,000 Gabelli alumni in the New York tri-state area. The New York tri-state area includes the state of New York, the state of Connecticut, and the state of New Jersey that are all right here touching one another. And then there are more than 40,000 Gabelli alumni around the world and nearly 200,000 Fordham University alumni around the world. So lots of opportunities to engage with alumni. While we definitely want you to focus on your schooling and your academics, it is without a doubt equally important to be engaged outside of the classroom. In fact, I would say if your goal is to simply come to graduate business school and just go to class and study in the library, virtually or physically, this is probably not the right program for you. We have a reasonable expectation that the students are going to get engaged outside of the classroom. And here are a few examples of some of our graduate student organizations. And just by looking at the names, you can see that this extracurricular activity is really the intersection of the classroom activity, student engagement, and career and professional development. So as you can see, we have a handful of professional or career-related clubs like the Business Analytics Society, the European Business Society, the Finance Society, the Accounting Group, the Consulting Group. We also have a wide variety of affinity organizations. So we've got Ascend NAMBA, we've got the Black and Hispanic MBA Association, we've got the Fordham Women in Business, the Fordham Veterans Association, and then we also have a few sports clubs, and they're not listed here. A few of them just started, but we have a table tennis club, soccer, European soccer, football. We have a football club that's actually very active. They won the citywide tournament 2 years ago, so we're really excited about that. And if there's a club that you're interested in starting that's not offered, we offer a pretty streamlined way to create a club. In fact, one of the newest clubs is a wine club. And so there's a growing wine industry, vineyard industry here in the Northeast. And so this particular club focuses on that particular industry. And obviously, there's a lot of wine tasting going on. So lots of opportunities to get engaged. Again, we have a reasonable expectation that students are going to get involved outside of the classroom. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the application requirements, and these are pretty standard for most of the graduate schools that you may have already looked at. But you're required to upload a resume, your official transcripts. If you're coming from a school where English is not the official language, then you'll need to get your transcripts evaluated through an organization like WES. If you go to our website, all that information is there. We are now a test optional school with the exception of our Masters of Science in Quantitative Finance. So for that particular program, you're required to submit one of these standardized tests, either the GMAT or the GRE. And then, of course, being test optional, you're more than welcome to submit the GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment as a data point to complement your application. All students whose native language is not English and their undergraduate academic institution is one in which English is not the primary language are also required to do a complete and submit a language competency score. And so those are pretty standard: TOEFL, IELTS, the Pearson test for English, or PTE, or the Duolingo English test, the DET. All of these now have an online option. Actually, Duolingo is only offered online. So lots of opportunities for you to submit, to take advantage of those particular tests and submit those scores. We do ask for essays and professional recommendations, as well as there is an admissions interview. There will be some folks who are fast-tracked. This is an accelerated admissions process. So basically, we're looking at your particular applicant profile. And then there's a small percentage of folks who will be fast-tracked without an interview. But the vast majority of our applicants will be invited to interview and must complete that interview in order to be considered for admissions. Deadlines, obviously spring 21 has already started, so those deadlines are gone. Summer 2021 starts literally in 3 weeks, so that deadline is passed. And for fall of 2021, the last deadline is June 11th. Now, typically in any given year, our deadlines change a little bit, but they always are typically around the same time of the month each year. So for next year, spring of 2022, it'll be mid-November, summer of 2022, early March, and then fall of 2022. It will be around the same times, just next year. There still is time for students to submit an application. Again, the last and final deadline is June 11th. We recognize that for international students, that may be a little late. We also recognize that we still may be in a situation where international students may have to join us virtually, depending on where they are in the world and the situation with the coronavirus, what that looks like in their region. So it is possible for an international student to still submit an application by the June 11th deadline. And again, the U.S. embassies and consulates around the world are only just now beginning to open, and some of them aren't open yet. So we recognize that there may be there will be a delay. We don't even need to think about a delay. There will be a delay in processing the I-20s for student visas. So some students may find it difficult to get a visa in time to start for the fall semester in person and may have to join us virtually, and then can secure their visa over the course of the fall semester to join us in person in the spring. All right, as we wrap up this presentation, I just wanted to share some information about cost. This is pretty transparent. You can go to our website where it's updated in real time. But here's the information about all of our different programs. I want to point out that we have a set rate for our full-time MBA program, meaning the tuition is set. And then for the Masters of Science programs, those are charged by credit, and each master's program has a different number of credits. So to calculate the full tuition, you'll need to multiply the tuition rate per credit by the number of credits in that particular program. You'll see that there are a few one-time fees, enrichment fees, and then there are some university assessed fees as well. For the most part, if you look at sort of our peer set, we are definitely the most cost reasonable program in the peer set for most of our programs. Again, you can follow up on our website for more additional information about tuition. We recognize that this is a big financial investment. We do offer merit-based scholarships at the time of admission. For the full-time MBA, those scholarships range from $30,000 to full tuition. For our specialized master's programs, those scholarship awards are merit-based again, and they range from $10,000 US to $30,000 US. We also partner with a variety of different international student loan organizations like Empower or Prodigy for international student loans. And then once you've matriculated as a student, you also have access to what we call continuing student aid, which includes graduate assistantships, as well as a small pool of scholarships for continuing students. As we wrap up here, here is the contact information. You can actually you can find all of this on our website as well with our team. As you can see, each of our specialized master's programs has a admissions officer that's assigned to it. Feel free, if you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to one of those staff members. And that is all that I have. So it's been a pleasure. And I think we are now going to answer some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lawrence, for your presentation. And actually, while you were presenting, we received some questions. I also believe that maybe some of the questions you already mentioned the answer, but still probably be relevant to talk about it all together. First question they ask us is, how long does the Master of Science take? I mean, all the master's program, it will be a year or 2 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. That depends on the program. As I mentioned, each one of our specialized master's programs has a different number of credits. So the shorter programs that are typically 30 credits, those programs are typically 1 year, and they can be stretched to 1 year and a semester, 1.5 years. And then we have a few programs like the Master of Science in Accounting and the Master of Science in Quantitative Finance that are almost 2 years. But the vast majority of the specialized master's programs can be completed in either 1 year or 1.5 years.
Perfect, thank you. Internships. So you actually mentioned about career service and all the support they can give to students. The asking for internship is, can the university help me find some, or is it up to the student to find one?
It's actually a collaborative effort. That's a great question. It's a collaborative effort. So our career management office is committed to helping the students find opportunities to engage with companies that hire for internships and full-time jobs. So that includes things like site visits, that includes things like information sessions with representatives from companies that are hiring jobs. So, you know, our job in the partnership is to provide you with access to engage with the companies that are hiring, and your job in this collaboration or this partnership is to also source internships and full-time jobs on your own as well. So it's a combination, it's a collaboration between our career development office and the student to help them achieve their career goals to land the great internship.
Perfect. Maria is asking us, is New York very competitive to find a job in the marketing field, or is it possible to stay after the master?
Yeah, I mean, it's New York City. So yes, it is competitive. If you think about New York City, it's like everybody around the world wants to get a job in New York City, and nearly every industry. So yes, it's definitely competitive. But again, you know, we're smack dab in the heart of New York City. We've got great relationships with some of the signature companies in a wide variety of industries. So our students compete very well with all of the other students when it comes to finding internships and full-time jobs. And again, so as a master's student, when you graduate, you get the opportunity for a one-year work visa called OPT. If you graduate from one of the STEM programs, then you get the 1 year plus a 2-year extension. So that's a total of 3 years of OPT that you have once you've graduated.
Perfect. They're asking us if we can explain better how it's organized, the on-campus recruiting. So how does it work? Maybe how many times during the year you do this sort of events, and how probably to get involved.
Yeah, on-campus recruiting, it's a broad category. So, you know, there are so many different activities that fall under on-campus recruitment. So it could be information sessions. So for example, just a few weeks ago, we had one of the top financial services firms host a virtual information session where they did a presentation on their company. And they offered the opportunity for students to come and sit in on a presentation of their company where the company presented the different verticals that they hire master students in. And so then the company presents that opportunity. We send that opportunity to the students, and the students have an opportunity to sign up for the information session, and they're included in a resume book that's then provided to the company to review for potentially looking at internships and full-time jobs. But it's not just related, it's not just exclusively information sessions. There are also opportunities for coffee chats with employers. So on a regular basis, students have an opportunity to sign up for 15 to 30-minute coffee chats. Obviously, when they're in person, they're physically in person, but in COVID, they've been virtual, and it's an opportunity to connect with a recruiter, an employer, or an alumni from a particular company to learn a little bit more about an internship offer, an internship or full-time opportunity, and have that particular recruiter or employer learn a little bit more about you as well. In many of our classes, actually in nearly all of the classes, there are guest speakers, and these guest speakers are typically from companies that also hire our students. And so in class, you have an opportunity to engage with individuals who may be a part of your internship search and your full-time job search, and as well as with our student clubs and organizations. So for example, just last week, our consulting club held a consulting conference where over the course of 2 days, they had a series of workshops and seminars, virtual workshops and seminars that allowed current students to engage with representatives from some of the top consulting firms in the country. So there's a wide variety of opportunities under on-campus recruiting.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your very exhaustive answer. Questions about interviews. So at the end of the presentation, you mentioned about the recruitment process. They're asking if there is an interview to pass, and what do you ask? Is it like a job interview?
Absolutely. And so for 95% of the applicants will get an invitation to interview. And yes, it is like a job interview. And so you should, in preparing for your interview for business school, you should be thinking about this as if it were an interview for an internship or a full-time job. So I'm not going to give all the questions out, but it's also not a secret. You know, one of the things that we'll ask you is, why are you interested in the Gabelli School of Business? What is it about the Gabelli School that caused you to submit your application? What is it about your particular program? Why is it that you want to come to the Gabelli School, and why is it that you want to come to the Masters of Science in Global Finance or the Masters of Science in Business Analytics? Or what is it about our full-time MBA program that has caused you to submit your application? And then there's a wide variety of other questions that we'll ask you about, you know, challenges and your leadership style, your communication, dealing with adversity. You know, these are very organic conversations, and we like to see them as rather a conversation rather than an interview. And they're slightly tailored just based on the individual applicant. So it's not rocket science, but it's also not something that you want to not prepare for.
Perfect. Online programs. So they're asking us if you actually have some online programs, and maybe we can talk about if the procedure would be the same in terms of like admission procedure.
Yeah, so the admissions procedures are identical, and we do the three online programs that we have. We have an online Master's of Science in Management, an online Master's of Science in Global Finance, and then our Strategic Marketing Communication program is online. And again, the admissions process and the selection process, it's all the same. Typically, the online programs are not attractive to international students. They're typically more attractive to, it's open to anybody, but typically if we look at the student profile for our online programs, they're mostly folks that are coming from either the US or North America. But we always have a small number of international students, but most international students are interested in the full immersion that comes with doing one of the in-person on-ground programs.
Perfect. Questions about the English. So what is the level of English that is required in order to apply? You actually mentioned some of the English proficiency tests, but maybe we can just remind one more time.
Sure. So all students whose native, whose primary language is not English will need to take a language competency exam. And the details on who is required to take those exams, you can find that on our website. We accept the IELTS, the TOEFL, the Pearson test for English, and the Duolingo English test. For the IELTS, typically we're looking for a 6 or a 7, and for the TOEFL, we're really looking at 100 as that score, that minimum score.
Thank you. Questions about tuition fee. So someone is asking about if we can just mention briefly what's the tuition fee. You already mentioned about some sort of scholarship, but maybe it's good just to remind. I think you mentioned something about merit-based scholarship, or maybe we can just remind to the audience.
Sure. Just as a reminder, the tuition is based on, like for the full-time MBA program, the tuition is a set price. It doesn't matter how many credits it is or credits you take, it's one set price. Right now, that's about $105,000 just for the tuition. For the specialized master's programs, this is charged by the credit. And so the tuition rate right now is $1,682 US per credit. And so to calculate the tuition, you simply need to multiply that per credit rate with the number of credits that are in the program. So for example, our business analytics program is 30 credits. So to get that tuition, multiply 30 times the $1,682 to come up with what that tuition is. And then for a program like the quantitative finance, which is 42 credits, you simply multiply 42 times that tuition rate. And just keep in mind, if you go back in the slides, I think you're going to get this presentation, you'll see that there are some one-time fees from the business school as well as reoccurring fees from the university. So if you look at all of that in sum, you'll get a sense of what the total tuition plus fees includes. We do offer scholarships. The scholarships are offered at the time of admission. You don't need to submit an additional application. We consider all students who submit a completed application, we consider them for merit-based scholarships. For the full-time MBA, those scholarships range from $30,000 US to the full cost of tuition. And for the specialized master's programs, it ranges from $10,000 US to $30,000 US. And again, these are merit-based scholarships that are offered at the time of admissions.
Perfect. Maria has a question. So she says, maybe it's a silly question. Well, I actually don't think it is. I mean, there are no silly questions, but what is the difference from MBA and a master? I am not sure what I should do. So maybe I think it's important just to remind what the difference is and maybe what to advise. Thank you, Lawrence.
Great question. The difference between an MBA and a specialized master's. The main difference is that the MBA is a manager's degree, which is why it requires work experience. typically most MBA programs require somewhere between 2 and 5 years of professional work experience. The full-time MBA is a program that's designed to train managers. So at the completion, managers or leaders, at the completion of the MBA, these students are going to be put into senior level positions within a company. A specialized master's degree is what we call a pre-professional degree, which means that most of the students that are coming out of this are coming right out of undergrad, and they're using the specialized master's program to develop a deep skills, a subject matter expertise in one particular area. So you've got a specialized master's in quantitative finance. Those students are really just focusing on quantitative finance. You have a specialized master's in business analytics. Those students are just learning things around analytics. Those programs don't require work experience at all. In fact, most of the students don't have work experience. I think the average years of work experience for one of our specialized master's programs is 1 year of experience. The vast majority of the folks are coming out of undergrad to do our specialized master's programs. So that full-time MBA, that you graduate into a leadership role. The specialized master's program, you're typically graduating into an entry-level role, and there's a big difference there. And again, years of experience, the scope of your experience is different. And I think one very tangible way to look at the difference is the scale of compensation. And so typically a student graduating from a full-time MBA program is being rewarded for their years of work experience. And typically that reward means that their salaries upon graduating from an MBA are typically almost $100,000 or over $100,000. And for a specialized master's program, that typically is a range between $55,000 and about $85,000 US dollars, depending on what the program is.
Perfect, thanks. So I also believe that in this case, Maria, probably relevant what will be your goal, if you want to specialize in something. And of course, after this webinar, we will be also sharing with you some sort of information, and then we will be sharing an email address that you can contact in case you have any further question, because of course, each situation might be different. Maria is asking us, for specialized master programs, is there any age limit, so sort of age requirement, or is actually you admit students from all age?
Yeah, no, there's for the specialized master's program, for any of our programs, there's no age requirement. As I mentioned, for the full-time MBA program, we do require professional work experience. But for the specialized master's programs, we have students that are coming right out of undergrad. The majority of the students are coming right out of undergrad, or maybe they've been working for just 1 year. But we do, in every single one of our programs, we also have students that are a little bit older. They've been out a little bit more. Maybe they've been out 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years. And they chose the specialized master's program because that aligns with their career goals and professional aspirations. So there are no age limits.
Thank you. We also have a question from Shahab. It's asking about, so we mentioned about MBA, but he also asked if the Gabelli School of Business also has some sort of degree related to social sciences. So we're talking about School of Business, but just in case if there is any sort of degree that could lead someone to specialize in social sciences.
So we don't. We're a business school, and so we don't have any social science specific degrees. But some degrees, some of our degrees that attract social science students, and I guess there could be a crossover with our media management when we're talking about our marketing intelligence. When you're talking about consumer behavior, that crosses over with psychology. When we're talking about sort of marketing tactics, communication tactics, that also has a lot of crossover in the social sciences. But we are a business school, and so all of our degrees are business related.
Perfect. Question. So they say my language is Spanish. I understand from conversation, words, but I want to know if that is relevant to the interview. So just in case, so we do mention that, of course, in order to be able to apply, there is an English test to submit. But will the English level also be tested during the interview? Is that one of the reasons also why you maybe run these interviews?
No, there's not an English test during the interview. Obviously, the nature of an interview and having a conversation with someone in and of itself is an assessment of your communication skills by nature of just talking with one another, but there's not a formal English test. You know, the reason why we do the interviews, while we are assessing students' communication skills, their ability to formulate ideas, their ability to synthesize information, their ability to, again, formulate their ideas and to articulate their goals and aspirations. Those are really the reasons and really why they're interested in the Gabelli School, to make sure that there's a cultural fit and a values fit. Those are the underlying reasons why we feel that the admissions interview is extremely important.
Thank you, Lauren. So you mentioned some applications deadline. I wanted to ask if you have any sort of advice for people who are looking to put an application through, and also, for example, let's say I'm interested, but maybe at the moment I don't have all the document needed. Can I still put an application and maybe being accepted, let's say, with a reserve, and then probably get a total answer in the second moment?
Yeah, so you can definitely submit your application with unofficial documents. So you can upload an unofficial transcript to start the evaluation. And then if you're admitted, then we will require you to submit the official documentation. But to get started and to actually submit the application, you can do that with unofficial documents. Yeah.
Perfect. And is there any sort of advice that you feel like giving for someone who's preparing for this? Maybe what's the best way to get organized into this? And also in terms of the application itself, you've probably been seeing a lot of application coming through. So any sort of idea of how to stand out?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think one thing, and it's a strategy to help you stand out, because it helps you organize your thoughts better. And that is one of the standout qualities of a good application, is a well-organized application. It's to start early. I'm always surprised at how many people will look at a deadline and then try to submit all their documents and applications just a week before the deadline. Will that work? Yes, but that is never a good way to present yourself in the application process. So I would say start early. You know, if you can always start to submit documents to the school before the deadline, and that's also a trigger to tell the school that you are really interested and committed into this program. So number one is start early. And number two is you have to think beyond rankings. I know that especially in an international population, the very first thing, the first instinct is to go towards rankings, the Financial Times, US News and World Report, or The Economist. You have to look beyond the rankings, and you have to think about, what are my goals? What are my objectives? What is it the school's offering? And does it align with my goals and objectives? If you can visit the school, even better. If you can't visit the school, if you can engage with people virtually, that is also very important. You should be thinking about the school where you're going to be able to thrive, not just survive. This isn't about survival, it's about thriving. I am always amazed at how many people choose a school only on rankings, and then when you ask them 1 year into their program, they're not thriving at all, they're just surviving, and they can't wait to finish. That shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't be so eager to get out of school. You want to be able to take advantage of all of the unique offerings and the opportunities that you have while you're a student. So choosing a school based on values, choosing a school based on alignment with your goals and objectives, and choosing a school based on fit and your ability to thrive. So those are my tips.
Yeah, I think it's actually very great advice, because you need to find a school that could be a great fit for you. Wanted to ask, talking about this, you mentioned during the presentation about the Alumni Network, which I believe is probably something very important. Is there a way for students to get in contact with current students or maybe alumni? Is there maybe a section on the website, or do you know of any groups?
Absolutely. So if you actually go to any of the program pages on our website, almost immediately a little chat box will pop up in the bottom right-hand corner. And there will be a profile of a student from the program that you're interested in. If you click on that little box, you can actually reach out to any of our student ambassadors that are across any of our programs, and it also includes alumni ambassadors. So even before you've submitted an application, you can begin to engage with our current students as well as some of our alumni. You know, we talked about digital and social media, and our career development team just putting on a session today around leveraging digital and social media in your job search and internship search. You should also be prepared to leverage digital and social media in your school search. So you can always go to our school website or the school site on like LinkedIn and look at where our alumni are and the alignment with your career goals and objectives. We have a very, very open and welcoming alumni base. If you reach out to them on LinkedIn, 9 times out of 10, they will respond.
Great. Questions from other readers asking if the program includes some sort of English language improvement package for foreign students. So for example, let's say I get admitted, my English is good enough to enter, but maybe I want to improve my language skills. Do you offer some sort of courses?
We do, yeah. So for these courses are exclusive to the specialized master's programs. So the one program that we have is called Gabelli Talk. It is a 4 to 5 week program. Again, usually it's in person. This summer it will be online, and it is a language development program. Again, it's designed to be about 5 to 6 weeks, and it covers language, communication, and culture. It's a fantastic opportunity to strengthen your language skills, build confidence, and really learn about American culture and what it means to study and live in New York City. One of the interesting parts about this program is its connection to understanding the language of business and its connection to the English language. And so there are lots of opportunities there. Like one of the site visits, even the virtual site visits that they did was around the Museum for Finance. And so looking at the Museum of Finance and how finance played a role in the device. There are lots of words. There are some words that we use that are directly tied to finance, the field of finance. So, and there are some cultural aspects as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity to do that. We also have a cultural exchange, a communication exchange program. And so we pair international students whose first language is in English with a native English speaker. And these English speakers are either from the Gabelli School or they're from our network of partners around the city of New York. And typically these students are paired and they meet up with their communication coach once a week, maybe once every other week, to talk and to get an opportunity to practice their improvisational English skills. So those are the two primary mechanisms that we have for language development while you are a student. For those students who are in the admissions process and we feel that you have everything that you need to be from a technical standpoint, but the language is an issue, we also have a program called the International Business Bridge. This is a program, it's an additional fee, it's an additional year. You could be conditionally admitted into that program, which is an intensive year of English language development. Again, it's an additional fee. Once you've completed that International Business Bridge program, then you are moved right into your specialized master's program. So those are the 3 specific areas in which we provide development around language, communication, and culture.
This is great to hear. I think this is such a great tool that the students have. You mentioned about during the presentation STEM designated program, very important also for the visa or PT, so students can actually have the opportunity to stay after the graduation for 2 extra years. I wanted to ask, For those programs, is STEM background required, or also in this case you offer some sort of preparatory courses, let's say for someone who's very much interested but maybe doesn't have the hard skills needed? Let's say I'm thinking about quantitative skills.
Great question. So it depends on the program. So again, we have 10 on-campus programs and 3 online specialized master's programs, and each of one of them has a different set of admission standards. And part of those admission standards may include prerequisite courses. So for example, the Master's of Science in Global Finance, it does have prerequisite courses. But if you don't have those prerequisite courses, we offer those prerequisite courses either before you come to school or during the first semester. But a program like the quantitative finance program, which probably is the most selective of our specialized master's programs, it has a series of either 7 or 8 prerequisite courses that we do not offer. So that's expected that you have those prerequisites before you submit your application. So it really depends on the program. If you just go to our website, under each one of the programs, if there are prerequisites, they're listed. If there's an opportunity to take those prerequisites as a student, that will be listed. And if not, that it will be noted there as well.
Great. So we are coming towards the end of our live presentation. And of course, I wanted to thank Lawrence for his time, but all of you for being connected and all your great questions. I wanted to ask Lawrence if there was maybe something else that you wanted to share. Of course, it's very hard to summarize everything in an hour presentation. If there was any other aspect that you wanted to talk about, or something that you wanted to say to the audience.
Yeah, you have a lot of choices, especially in New York City. But I think when we're looking at our location, our relatively small business, the size of our business school and the size of our programs, it really allows you to have a very up close and intimate business school experience and a truly transformative experience. And I do think that the small class size, our strong faculty, and our geographic location are differentiators and help us stand out against our competitors. So you have lots of choices. I hope that you will take the time to be introspective, to understand yourself, because that's a connection to helping you better understand what business school is going to be the best fit to help you thrive rather than just survive.
Perfect. So thank you so much. I really want to thank Lawrence for his time. All of you for being connected. As mentioned, we will be sending you an email after this event, and there will be an opportunity for you to rewatch the webinar, so you can take a screenshot of the presentations. And we will also be sharing with you some contact details in case you have any further questions. So thank you so much, Lawrence, for your time. And thank you all for being connected, and we look forward to seeing you soon at the next live webinar. But hopefully, if you put an application through, you will have the pleasure to meet Lawrence in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, and good luck. Bye.